A squatter in Atlanta tried to steal $1 million home but was finally evicted. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over another one of these cases where people are trying to steal a home from the rightful owners. And, this actually is happening more often, and it's more common than I even knew about. I mean, now that I started looking at more articles about it, I'm just like, man, you really have to be careful out there, and this kind of thing, it does happen. But there are some things that you can do to help protect yourself, but you really have to know what you're doing. And I can see how some people, they get in over their heads in certain situations. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know. Have you ever dealt with any of these issues before, with somebody filing, fake paperwork or trying to, maybe steal one of your properties? I haven't. Or do you know anybody who has? It's crazy to think that these kind of things are even possible. But man, I mean, it sounds like it really does happen every once in a while. So, this article is coming from WSBTV.com, and it says, after 2-year fight, marshals finally evict man squatting in high-end Ansley Park home. And this is coming from the Atlanta area. So, let's get into the article. High-end squatters allegedly lived in a $1 million Atlanta house rent-free and refused to leave for years. An Atlanta couple says the nightmare all started more than 2 years ago. Channel 2 Action News cameras were there this week as Fulton County Marshal served an eviction at the Ansley Park home, piling belongings in the front yard. But the story started more than 2 years earlier. And now they're going to kind of go over the details of this, right? So this is a unique kind of situation, and I don't know if this would happen to everybody, but this is what you need to watch out for. The buyers came in with a sweet deal, homeowner Chad Sims told Channel 2 investigative reporter Justin Gray. Sims thought he had a deal to sell his home in September 2019. In my opinion, I don't think they were ever going to buy the house. It's just, I think that's how they got in, Sims said. Fulton County court documents show the potential buyer was Corey Fuller. Sims said for months, Fuller kept pushing back the closing date, then canceled the deal last fall, but stayed in the house and stopped paying rent. So right there's something a little bit fishy going on, okay? So this guy was in the house. He was in the house that he was buying before the closing date. So my question is, was he already renting the house and then the owner set up like a rent-to-own deal? Or did the owner decide to allow him to stay in the house until the closing date if they paid rent? What exactly happened, that got this guy in the house? Like, as a person who has sold properties and bought properties before, I do not let the buyer from me ever take possession of the property until everyone has signed and the closing is officially done. Okay, that is when they get the keys. That is when they can move in there, etc. Okay, until then, I am still the owner of the property, and I'm not comfortable with letting them in. Now, maybe in this situation they said, "Oh, well, it looks like everything is up to snuff, and we're going to allow them to move in a little bit early." Because they were having these difficulties with the closing. But the difficulties with the closing should have been a red flag to these people that, hey, something's not right here and maybe we shouldn't let them in. But it was, oh man. So yeah, that was probably not the best idea. Sims said he hasn't received a dime in rent since last January. He spent a year trying to evict the family while he was forced to live in a series of short-term rentals, spending money each month on mortgage, rent, and thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. Meanwhile, Fuller filed a series of court motions that repeatedly delayed and held up the eviction. So yeah, this is a common tactic with professional tenants. Okay, they know they can file just a ton of motions if they go to court, and that will keep the eviction process rolling, and they won't actually be evicted. So on top of that, I don't know if they filed saying that, hey, we're suffering under the pandemic, because all this started right before the pandemic. It started in September of 2019. So all throughout 2020, the CDC eviction moratorium was going on, and they could have just claimed, hey, we're facing pandemic hardship, we can't be evicted, and that could have dragged this out even longer. But maybe it says more about that in the article. Money's a big thing, but I had to move my family 6 different times in the past 10 months. And that's my daughter, my husband, even my dog, Sims said. Gray checked Fulton County court records and found at least 4 other writs of dispossessory filed against Fuller for 4 different Atlanta properties. In Cobb County, Fox News Channel star Sean Hannity sued Fuller. In that case, a judge ordered Fuller to pay Hannity more than $900,000 in another real estate dispute. So this guy's done it before. Okay, he's a known scammer, and this is completely ridiculous. And he actually got sued by the Fox News star for the same thing. And they have this guy's picture here in the article, and I'm going to throw it up over here on the screen so you can see what this guy looks like. If you're a landlord in Atlanta, do not rent to this guy, okay? Do not try to sell any of your properties. He's a scam artist. He is a scam artist, and this is a warning to anyone watching this who might have to deal with this scumbag, okay? All right. Fuller's attorney, Grady Roberts, told Gray in an email, they are not squatting. They are landlord and tenant. The landlord-tenant dispute arose after a tree fell on the residence. A tree did fall on the home in October 2020, but Sims said the Fullers would not let contractors in to complete the repair work and continued to live in the home another 14 months, refusing to pay rent most of that time. I feel like I won the Super Bowl and I just got out of an abusive relationship, Sims said. So, think about what I just said there, okay? So basically, the people, they hadn't paid rent since, looks like September of 2019. Let me scroll back here. And, so they had been in the house since, they tried to sell the house in September of 2019, it says here, right? And then a tree fell on the house, they refused to leave, and they were somehow they got into some sort of landlord-tenant relationship, and this whole situation is a mess, okay? So when I originally read this, I thought it was a case of these people trying to steal the house, through like some sort of title fraud. Well, apparently this is just a case of squatters who were trying to stay in the house and not leave. So, I'll have to read a little bit better next time before I jump into an article with the conclusions that I've already come up with. But yeah, this is a crazy situation. Dealing with squatters is nuts. And I'm certainly glad that I haven't had to deal with them in my own properties. But yeah, all of the stuff that happened with the eviction moratorium, all of the stuff that happened, until it ended, really probably didn't help this landlord get these tenants out of that property. So now we're stuck in a situation where they just now are getting out of this $1 million home after being in there since September of 2019. And yeah, bad news, okay? So craziness.